Hello, hello. I have the utmost pleasure to introduce my mentor and my coach, Monika from Perfect Balance. Monika Sakura, our head trainer, who's an incredible coach. And I get to interview her this time because she embarrassed me a couple of weeks ago. So I'm really excited about this. So welcome, Monika.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here on the other side. It's quite fun.
I know. Straight up for the occasion, ladies and gents. This is amazing. I felt very happy. But today we just wanted to discuss, we were sort of discussing the other day about, I guess our expansion online and doing our remote coaching. And I think it's really good to just get clear on what remote coaching is and how it serves our clients, how we work with our clients. Because some people don't know, some people might have never broached it, or they've only worked with personal trainers, movement coaches, therapists face to face. So I thought we can just clear up some of these maybe questions that people might have. And then I thought you'd be the perfect person to answer them. So,
all right, let's do it.
What you do within Perfect Balance?
Well, I am, want to say a head trainer, but that really just means a trainer really in this particular situation. So I overlook obviously a fantastic fitness team, including yourself. And what I mean by that is really just making sure that we all looking after our clients to the highest standard. So we're very fortunate to have an incredible team with very experienced and very knowledgeable practitioners, meaning there's not much of a managing going on. It's just me making sure that everyone's happy and looked after. I also do train clients myself, not to the same capacity as you guys, but I do have a privilege of seeing some people. And most importantly, in a recent month, taking all of the face-to-face appointments online, which was exciting. It was really, really exciting. I think it's really interesting because for all of you who have tons of questions about remote training, I would have to say I was in your boat 3 months ago. It was exactly the same for us. And although we were toying with that idea, but just before the lockdown, we were actually putting the business plans together to expand our services, to go a little bit further and go for remote services. No one could predict back then, I think it was only February, that this is going to be our new normal. So in a sense, COVID-19, however terrible, the event itself was, and it brought hurts and pain to many people's lives, from our side, it has pushed us to become more creative and test what we wanted to do and launch pretty much in a much more fast-tracked way.
It was definitely fast-tracked. It was sort of a blessing in disguise in terms of just accelerating this avenue that we wanted to explore as movement coaches, just wanting to get all of our work on, well, not all of it, but a lot more on remotely and online. So definitely. But because when we first started working together, we were working in clinic or working in our London-based studio. And how would you say that the work has changed, obviously, despite now working with clients one-to-one remotely on Zoom, but how would you say the nature of the work has changed from face-to-face to remote?
Surprisingly, it hasn't changed in a great deal in a sense of what we can achieve with our clients. There's a lot of different outcomes that we see, and I'm sure that you can join me in sharing that same feeling in here. But for the clients that used to be our face-to-face clients, it's been some really surprising effects that we have seen. There's actually a lot of progression that has happened due to them coming to the studio. And it's not because the studio didn't work for them. It was because mostly, first of all, majority of them increased the amount of sessions that they had in a week. Obviously, due to the lockdown, people had way more time. A lot of them had nothing better to do, but probably prioritize their health and fitness a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it was also that mental aspect of it to actually stay engaged and look forward to something. Hopefully they look forward to it. Probably they're going to listen to it and think to herself that I'm absolutely chatting rubbish here, but it's incredible how when they saw, people that used to do one session a week started doing two, people who used to do two started doing three, and those results that we've been working on that steadily were progressing in the routine actually started coming way sooner. So that was great to see. And then we obviously had the whole handful of people who have never ever seen us in their entire lives in person. And we onboarded during the lockdown. And I think these are the ones that I definitely want to bring up today. Share their stories. We have the permission to share the stories and really, really actually show that the remote sessions are surprisingly good. And for many people, they work way better than the face-to-face appointments.
Yeah, definitely. It's even the clients that I've generated from working with remote, it's expanded beyond London, and I've been working with people in Manchester and Birmingham, and it's worked so well from that perspective. And I can completely relate in terms of not only them increasing the amount of sessions, but there seems to be a lot more focus in what they're doing and the investment that they're working on, for the goals that they're working on with us or with the nutritionist or with the therapist that we have. And there just seems to be a lot more focus in the actual task at hand. Great, because if we're focused and if our mind's there, then our heart's there, then we're going to get the results that we want.
Absolutely. For many people, I think the lack of novelty, meaning the familiar environment that they're in, so their living rooms, their cellars, some people, just take a chunk of the bedroom even, means that the only thing that's new and they have to focus on is the task during the session. So naturally, for some people, going to the gym is a whole different experience, and then it's a kind of ritual that they enjoy. But for a lot of us, especially living in London, time is really of an enormous value. So even the people that used to come to Russell Square, used to work and live in London, London is humongous. If you live in London, you can live still an hour or two away from our studio. So if we can cut the time of you actually coming to the studio, having to train, having to take a shower, leave, go back, we're saving pretty much 2/3 of the time of the session that we used to have. All you need to do is just put your laptop on and we're there. In your living room.
Within the scope of that you've been working with and you're still generating, what would you say we can do exceptionally well at with coaching specific clients online, for example? So before, when we were working in the studio, we were working with a lot of clients with osteoporosis or hypermobility, diabetes, but I guess within the realm of our knowledge base, and also the expansion of geographical areas, we've been able to expand our field of expertise as well. So what would you say some of the cases that we have been working on with our clients?
Well, surprisingly, actually, or maybe not surprisingly, the clients that we're seeing, which, you rightfully so mentioned, osteoporosis, hypermobility, we tend to see a lot of people post-rehab as well, due to the link to the clinical side of our business, so the physiotherapy and osteopathy. We tend to obviously stay away from the powerlifting, heavyweight lifting, really explosive movements, and focus on more functional bodyweight/light resistant training, which means that this type of training can easily be done at home with minimal equipment. So people like hypermobile people, which tend to be quite misunderstood by mainstream trainers. And, people that we see with hypermobility usually tell the same story. I've tried a personal trainer before. I tried going to the gym. No one could really understood. It hurt me. I ran into injuries. So because of our expertise, we know that this is not necessarily the same way that you can approach a hypermobile person that you would a person, just a regular gym goer. So it's incredibly important that the way you train a person is adapted. And actually, for people with hypermobility, being in a familiar environment allows them to focus even more on the mind-body connection, which they tend to really struggle with. So a great amount of results for people with hypermobility through the remote training. It allows them to really switch off the outside world without worrying about all the novelty and all the things that haven't been exposed to, and just connect to their body. Exactly. Both of us have a great success with the clients with osteoporosis.
Yeah.
A fantastic group for home training. The fantastic thing about people with osteoporosis, and I'm sure you agree with your clients as well, is remote training has pushed us to record a lot more of our clients' progress. So naturally, I think, although we were always quite diligent about recording, the data, measuring and reviewing the progress of our clients, because we naturally can't physically see them, we're now relying a lot more on the videotaping, on the hard evidence, whether that's photos or videos that they're sent to us. So actually, I'm sure that you find the same thing, is it's much easier for both myself and the client to see that steady progress. So every 8 weeks when you get your review, you can generally just play the two videos next to each other. And it's not just, a before and after photo. You actually see how different you stand, you move, you squat, whatever it is that you want. So for people with osteoporosis, where the great amount of focus is put on the posture and especially the back health, it's incredible to see. And for them to actually see how different they position their neck, their head, how different they maintain their position of their back and the spinal alignment as they move, it's just incredible. And I almost think to myself, I wish we were doing that before we were doing face-to-face, because it changes the level of commitment, and it changes the way they feel about it because they see it's working.
They do. And I think there's the initial, I guess, when people come with osteoporosis, they initially come with a DEXA scan and they say, hey, like, these are my results. I really want to get these changed. And that's their tangible thing that they want to change. So, and really, you only really get those sort of once a year, maximum. So at a minimum, sorry. So but that's not the only tangible goal. And this is what I've worked with some of my clients as well. And it's exactly what you said. If you can improve the posture, which then you can see tangibly through the video assessments that we get them to submit in sort of every month, then you can see that they're changing the way that their bodies are responding. You can see that their muscles are getting stronger, and muscles pull on bones, and bones are then having to adapt to that. So of course there's going to start to generate some change within their bone structure and their density, which is exactly what their long-term goal is to change their DEXA scan. So yeah, it's really great that we can see those tangible results by just submitting them via WhatsApp or any sort of medium that we work with. It's been really great. Have you got any stories with clients? It might not necessarily be osteopenic client, but have you got any other success stories?
Yes, actually, to be fair with you, I have a few. One I would probably want to touch on is the osteoporotic client I have onboarded within, I think, the first or second week of the lockdown. Back long time ago, back in March. I know, long time ago, when we thought that this was going to end in 2 weeks. That's where we started. And I vividly remember also that lady, because I remember that our initial appointment, which was meant to be a face-to-face, was on the day when the lockdown was introduced in London. So I remember us speaking. She doesn't only deal with osteoporosis, she deals also with Addison's and with celiac disease. So obviously she's naturally very high risk, and that meant that she would not take the risk of actually traveling, nor would we be open. But that also meant that for her, more than anyone else, that lockdown will last for the longest time, really. So she has been quite in a lot of distress when we first spoke. So just before we met, we had a phone consultation where we talked about her DEXA results, and her DEXA scans have been progressively getting worse, with a big jump between the last year's and this year's one. So that's when she decided to take action as a last resort from avoiding taking medication. And naturally, I always stress that we don't ever interfere in people's decision on taking medication. But naturally, we do tend to attract people that try other avenues and try to at least prolong the time at which they have to start the medication to manage their osteoporosis. So it was really interesting, because when we started doing our assessments, I still have the first videos that I asked her to record and send back to me, and I use them as a reference point in our reviews. And it's so incredibly amazing to see someone who at the beginning struggled with balancing on one leg to the point that she actually physically couldn't do it on one side. a very poor proprioception from one side to another, quite heavily tilted pelvis, quite strong case of kyphotic back, so already that rounding of the back and push forward neck. So that kind of, real signs that this is a time to include a lot more of a physical activity, the correct physical activity, and naturally management of her expectations. Because as with all the osteoporotic clients, they hear that, oh, now I need to start doing impact exercises. I need to start jumping, which obviously probably if she started doing it in the state that she was 4 months ago, it would have ended up in her injuring herself quite heavily. So after the assessment, we found out, we mapped it out for her. We have started working on all the limitations bit by bit. So obviously she started getting exercises to do for home, which is another incredible thing about remote working, is that we used to give people exercises, or whether recording her doing that in front of us or just given that on the sheet of paper. And now we put a way more focus and way more attention to how we coach people, because we know that we're not there next to them. So all the videos that I send to clients with the instructions for the videos, they're much more thought through. They have all the pointers. They have real show them the real examples of how to do it, how to move, what to look out for, so they connect with that way better. And this has been working amazingly for her. So slowly, every 3-4 weeks, we started introducing different services. She then started doing one of our classes with myself, which was the stretch class, and obviously the breathing class with yourself, which, as you know, have completely transformed her stress levels and her overall well-being, which is partially the reason why we decided to continue with the classes, to supplement the training for our clients and to give them something extra for us. So that space when they can meet like-minded people every week and just enjoy doing something, extra on top of those sessions. So long story short, she's now 4 months in. I'm just going to have to, just over 4 months in, with one of the best balances I've seen. She probably can stand on one leg longer than I can. But don't tell her, Dad. Hopefully she's not going to do that.
Credit to her diligence. She's sort of got on with it. But again, that backbone of support and the intricacy of the education that you've given her and provided her, and how you supported her the last 4 months is also.
It's a very important point that you're touching on, because I think what it teaches people is it teaches them to be less dependent on the trainer, and it teaches us trainers to be less mothery towards our clients. When you work with clients, you sometimes forget that you're there to educate and elevate people's lives, and you tend to overtake it, both with the things that you want from them, because you yourself know how important fitness is and how great of a result you can get doing all those different things. And you actually forget that they're coming with their set of limitations, problems, and their own goals that they want to achieve that don't necessarily always align with your goals. So by coaching someone remotely, you take a lot of that normal touching / visual guidance that you would do, kind of, just how many times would you back in the day just place someone in a better position, as opposed to get them to understand how they can do it. And those little things that I find are incredibly beneficial for clients' progress, because they are the ones doing it. We coach them, we educate them. And as a result of that, if they take that action, they get such great results because it's done fully by them. And if they long forget our names later in the future, they have all that education, and that's something that they're going to hopefully take away with them. So it doesn't become a connection of, I can only be fit if I come in and see Monika. I can only do this if Nala teaches me.
I think also on that note, and it's something that I've not really talked about before until you were discussing it there. And I thought, actually, one of the things that has maybe really shifted in the client's psyche is, and I've noticed this not necessarily with PD clients, but with prior clients, that people sometimes take a personal training session to almost sort of justify their way into health. They kind of go, oh yeah, I'll do the PT session, get a great workout. And then she doesn't really know about the rest of my life, and I'll kind of just do whatever I need to do. And they kind of don't make any other changes or habitual changes, lifestyle changes outside of that PT session. So they're almost sort of paying for their guilt. And I knew this would happen. Try and, you know, brief it with clients, but you can't lead a horse to water, right? But one thing I've noticed with working with clients in this remote setting is there's that barriers it's been removed. We're seeing their lounges, we're seeing their homes, and I think already that invitation into their home starts to just I guess creep into other areas and parts of their lifestyle that I'm now seeing a lot more bigger habitual changes and lifestyle changes that go outside the realm of just the PT session that we're delivering. And obviously it's our job to educate our clients on this, but there is so much that you can do. There is only so much you can do in an hour in a studio. Versus when they're in their home, they're in their own comfort place. And sometimes it's not movement that we do. It's actually talking about breaking down, you know, any barriers, mental barriers that they might have to exercise, or the idea of exercise, or, you know, snacking, whatever it might be. So yeah, I think that removal of that barrier has really helped the clients, and it's helped us do our jobs a lot better as well.
Definitely, it's been a growing process from both parts. I think we've definitely developed into a more well-rounded practitioners, less of a motherly type, and the clients became way more confident. And I think although they still connect, obviously, their success with us because they got the tools, I always try to now stress to them is that all I done is I showed you the toolbox. You literally had to go there, picked it up yourself and use them, which is such a powerful thing to do. And I think this is why we're getting such great results with clients right now, is because that ownership is fully and solely on their part. And we're just there to guide them, to teach, to educate them how to do it better, faster, and how to get what they want from what they're doing. So in many ways, something that I thought might be an additional service one day for us has become the best thing that happened in 2020 so far.
Yeah, there's always of even paid.
Absolutely. So absolutely.
The only time we can grow. Okay, so for anybody that is, because we've kind of covered, you know, do we need equipment, who is it for, like kind of cases, but if there's anybody sort of on the fence about remote coaching, what advice would you give them?
I would just say try it. I know it sounds crazy, but try it, give it a go. Obviously, you know, it all depends on what level of attention you want. We have a fantastic range of classes that are the middle ground between, you know, deciding whether you want to go full on the individual attention. What I guess you have to know about PT online is that you will get the same level of supervision, if not more, than you would in a studio. Because we literally have nothing better to do but to observe you throughout the whole hour. So there's no chance. We're not even taking any time to pick up the equipment. We're only showing you certain exercises, and the rest of it is fully guiding you through it. So if you're worried for any moment that, you know, we won't be able to see something, you know, we spend a great deal of the first initial consultation to try to teach you how to place the camera. Obviously, we're planning the session so you don't have to keep on moving the camera left and right. And it's all very much so thought through for you to stay as safe, but most importantly, as supervised as possible. Because, you know, we're not just there to count down. We're here to make sure that you're actually doing things to the most optimal level, and that's really what our job is all about, is to make sure that, you know, you can do the exercises yourself, right? But there's a reason why we're there, to making sure you're doing them and you're doing them correctly. So my greatest tip will be probably give it a go. If you're not too sure about the one-to-one, start with the classes. We ourselves have a fantastic range of classes. Loads of them are complimentary. We have a fantastic Pilates range, which go not only from, you know, complete beginners or lower back pain, but they go to mums-to-be, postnatals, Pilates for runners, Pilates for people with hypermobility. So it's a fantastic class range that actually is a great middle ground when you're still on the fence. Do I want to go for the remote training? Is it something for me? And I know that the girls do an amazing job as well by overlooking the group. So it's small group training. You won't have 120 people on your session. It's a great deal of attention that goes into this session. So try it, try classes if you're not too sure about one-to-one. And ultimately, if it's not for you, you can always go back to the face-to-face.
Exactly. One more question. And in light of everything that's happening, and then lockdown, no lockdown, lockdown, no lockdown, where do you see the future of Perfect Balance in terms of the world of in studio, remote? Where do you see this evolving to?
So the remote sessions are definitely staying. They're staying for good. As always, there will be a demand for it. And, as you rightfully say, at the beginning, we are now able to train people way, way beyond the reach that we used to. So you don't have to live in London in order to train with us. We had a chance to train people in Argentina and Thailand and in the Netherlands. Like, sky is the limit, really. If you can make it in your time zone, we can train you. But the important part for the rest of this year, and us being responsible and having that obligation to be responsible towards our clients, is that due to the nature of the clients that we see, and we see a lot of a high risk group clients in the studio, because these are the clients that we train. We have made a decision of continuing with the remote sessions only for the remainder of the year, to make sure that we are not putting our clients for unnecessary risk. So that decision has been made right now. In terms of the next year and the future of a face-to-face training, naturally there will be a reintroduction to the services to a certain capacity. Judging on the feedback we're getting from our clients, this will probably never be a full-time affair ever again. But what we are considering, and we had the discussion before, we're considering doing a face-to-face supervision, whether that's on monthly or every 6-week basis, to run through every test or any physical measurements that we might need to do for the clients that obviously want and require that supervision. So naturally, there will be an option. Yeah. Absolutely. There will be an option for our clients to see us in person. As I say, in terms of when that is, I'm hoping it will happen soon enough, in probably beginning of 2021. This will largely depend on how the COVID situation is managed and where we are in terms of the prevention of the outbreaks.
Exactly. Brilliant. No, and I really sort of look forward to the evolution of Perfect Balance, and I guess the evolution of us as coaches and within our sort of field of adapting. We're all adapting. Everyone's doing the best that they can. But I really, personally, on a personal note, I've really enjoyed the growth of how to adapt to this situation. But actually, in hindsight, it's working out a lot more effectively for clients and myself as a coach. So
it is, and trying to take our feelings aside, although we can't. I think it's incredible to see that this has worked so well, and it worked so well. This has become our go-to service, which is incredible. And obviously, I will forever be grateful to you and the amazing team we have, because you guys made it happen. And the fact that obviously we've always needed the highest of the standards for the character of the job that we do, but we've taken it and we've kept it, and even I would like to say we elevated it since we have gone remote. So I probably the time when I would think we failed is if anyone has seen this as a second category service, which from the feedback from our clients, I know they don't. So I'm just looking forward to expanding it.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Questions regarding our online services, or more specifically in sort of the personal training world, then feel free to pop a comment in the comment box below, or private message us, and we look forward to hearing from you. And thank you.
That's right. Thank you very much and have an amazing evening.
Thank you. Bye bye.